The following content contains adult language and humor that is not suitable for viewers under the age of 18. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. The views and opinions expressed during the following video content are those of the individual and may not reflect those of others. Thank you.
I got better things to do tonight than die.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome one and all you heathens to Pacific414 Pop Talk. That's right, it's St. Patty's Day on this Sunday, and all you heathens are here watching Pop Talk. Or you're like Baird and Cash. You got drunk on the Guinness last night at the bar. That's right, those two heathens aren't here. Those two heathens say they don't feel well. That's because I had too much Guinness last night. They're a bunch of heathens. I know I keep saying they're a bunch of heathens, but they are. They are. That's what happens. They say they don't feel well because they're hungover. They're hungover after being at the bar, starting a few bar fights, a few bar stools. I saw Baron out there at the church. He was arguing with a statue of St. Francis. And Cash, well, you know, the leprechaun, he came by. And he told him that there was a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So Cash Money, being Cash Money, decided, I'm going to go after that pot of gold. And I haven't seen him since. But you know who I have seen? And he's got the latest episode of Beverly Hills Forward Bar for us all to read, all to enjoy, all to sit back and drink some whiskey. That's right. We got T-Gapo Steve. That's right. T-Gapo Steve is here, and he's got the latest story, like I said. So we're going to sit down, and we're all going to listen to the story as I read it. That's right. It says, today's special holiday edition of Beverly Hills Par and Par, brought to you by Guinness, the Irish Tourism Board, and viewers like you. Oh, hello there, travelers, and welcome to the Isle of Ireland. Or what would you call Ireland? 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 You see how that works? You don't think you'd learn anything now. That's right, you never thought you'd learn anything on Pop Talk. You just thought we'd come on here, we'd just be flapping our gums? No, you're going to learn something here. There are all manners of stories about the Green Isle, things that many would call legends. Well, I tell you, the only difference between a legend and a story is whether you believe it happened. In that regard, all the stories of Irie are true, to one extent or another. And on days like today, you have heard all about the wee little people, the tricksters, the gold-hungry leprechauns, or what we call Cash Money. Well, they do be a wily bunch of wee folks, always getting up to mischief. But what if I were to tell you that it weren't only the little ones causing shenanigans, but even the big ones as well? You mean Phil McCracken? Not big like your Charles Berkeley, more like Godzilla. The giants of Ireland are in their way famous as well, if not as well spoken about as the wee folk. Among these, Finn McCummel. Now you would pronounce his name Finn McCool. No, I like calling him Phil McCall. But anyways, as Finn McCool, what if your accent and all? Well, Finn was a big, strong giant who lived in North Ireland on the coast, there with his loving wife. Well, one day, Finn hears someone shouting from across the way. It was a Scottish giant named Brennan Donner, who kept shouting such terrible things at Finn. Well, Finn couldn't let that stand. They shouted back and forth for days till Brennan Donner told Finn that he was laying claim to Ireland just to spite him. Come over here and say that to me face, Finn yelled, and threw a rock. Well, Ben, as we call him going forward, just laughed and Finn threw more rocks. He noticed that these rocks landed in the water and started to form a bridge. Well, Finn thought, I'll have some at him, and more the fool he be when I face him. He threw rock after rock after rock to make a bridge between I and Scotland. Finn, with his dander up stumped across the bridge, shouting a challenge to Ben. And when he was almost halfway across the bridge, he saw the Scottish giant. Oh, mercy! Ben was easily almost half again as tall as Finn, and all muscle, and ready to fight with a giant tree as a club. Perhaps Finn had not thought this out quite clearly enough. No. He was hanging out with Baron and Cash last night. Finn, well, he wasn't too proud to retreat, though by now Ben knew how to come after him. So he ran back to his home and wife. Oh, boggers me wife. He's bigger than I ever am, said Finn. She just shook her head and tisked and set aside her knitting. As much as it would do you right to get a walloping husband, we can't have some Scottish brute trying to claim our home, she said. They heard the stomping of Ben on the causeway, and she told him to wrap up in a blanket and sit in the sewing basket and keep his big mouth quiet. When Ben arrived and she met him at the door, he demanded to know where Finn was. Oh, he's gone to get himself a switch. He saw you had one in hand and figured it'd be cute, she said. Switch? Ben looked at his thick tree club and wondered why Finn would call it a switch. Yeah, be welcome to wait till he finds one. I have to feed his son, though, she said, and went to the basket. Well, Ben there looked at the size of Finn's son and realized that if this was the size of the baby, the man himself must be enormous. So Ben, he went and beat a hasty retreat. So since he didn't want to be caught on the stone bridge, Ben went and smashed it to pieces behind him, letting it fall into the water as he ran back to Scotland. And this, dear friends, is why Giant's Causeway exists today. Part on Scotland, part on Ireland. And why the two never built another bridge between them. I'll be back with more tales of the Green Isle after I get a refill of my Guinness. 'Cause good things come to those who wait. Stay tuned for more Beverly Hills 4 and 4. Note, the educational value of the stories told by the irate Irishman have not been evaluated and should be considered for entertainment value only. In other words, Happy St. Patty's Day! You're right, sons of bitches! You heathen bastards! So I hope everyone is doing well today. And again, Cash and Baron aren't here today because both of them are under the weather. So you get me today. And we do have some stories that we are going to talk about today. Of course, I have the box office pulled up. I'm just waiting for that to be updated with this weekend's figures. And as soon as it's updated with this weekend's figures, I will let you all know what was the top grossing movie of this weekend was. And yeah, I got to get those sound effects fixed, TGAP Steve. I tried it before the stream and I just didn't like the way it was coming through. So I'll definitely try to get those sound effects up for you, brother. But I appreciate the story. And it's funny because the music that I had selected, I had already decided to play yesterday, and yeah, that's right. That's right. See, T-Gap and Steve knows. They were at the bar last night. It's like I said earlier. You know, one starts arguing with a statue of St. Francis at the church. The other hears a leprechaun say he's got a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and he goes after that pot of gold. I bet you know who that is. Yes, Crypto Coin himself. If he can get more money into his bin, he's a happy man. So, today we're going to go ahead and start off with our first story. This comes from Bounding into Comics. And you all know how vocal I've been when it comes to this particular story. And it's my opinion. Everyone has their own opinion on this story. But we're going to get into this story here. And I will try to keep my thoughts until after we've read through most of the article. But I can't promise anything. So we have this article from Bounding into Comics, which was posted on Friday. It's by Josh Berger, and it says Alec Baldwin seeking to dismiss involuntary manslaughter charges regarding the fatal shooting on the set of Rust. Really, Alec? Really? Well, there's only one clip to play for this article at the start of it.
The hell you say?
Alec Baldwin is reportedly seeking to dismiss a grand jury indictment against him for the killing of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins on the set of Rust. The disgraced actor's legal team argued that the state of New Mexico, where the tragic incident took place, has violated nearly every rule in the book when attempting to get Baldwin convicted for the killing of the cinematographer and accusing prosecutors of unfairly stacking the deck. Well, geez, maybe your client should have checked the weapon he was using in the film before he actually fired it. Enough is enough. This is an abuse of the system and an abuse of an innocent person. Innocent? I know I said I would try to keep my thoughts until after the article, but whose rights have been trampled to the extreme. Baldwin's attorney declared in a court filing obtained by BBC News, also arguing that the prosecution withheld substantial exculpatory and favorable evidence from the grand jury. In a separate trial, Rust Armor Hannah Gutierrez Reed, who was also hit with involuntary manslaughter charges for the killing of Hutchins,
was convicted by a grand jury on the 7th of March in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and was reportedly placed into custody of deputies. Much like Gutierrez Reed, where Baldwin to be convicted, the actor faces up to 18 months in prison and would be ordered to pay a $5,000 fine. The actor's trial is set for the 10th of July in New Mexico. Baldwin was criminally charged with 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter on the 31st of January 2023. Per statement of probable cause, prosecutors wrote that the actor was provided only a minimal training on firearms, even after Gutierrez Reed requested more training for Baldwin. Well, as executive producer, he should have taken responsibility on the set. But this whole time, from what we have read, Alec Baldwin has refused to take responsibility. He'd rather pass the blame on to someone else because he's a coward. The document also points out that information and evidence is provided in further support of probable cause of the enumerated crime committed by Baldwin, reiterating that the actor was not present for required firearms training prior to the commencement of filming. Well, he should have been there. As executive producer, he should have been there to make sure everybody, including himself, went through the training, and especially since he was the damn star of this film. And I do want to say hello to DJ Ronnie G. It's good to see you, brother. And I hope you got my message on Discord, brother. And let's see. TCAT says, it's okay, Mike. Sometimes you just have to let it out. I know. The whole point of Pop Talk is always to be honest with everybody and always to let our views and opinions be known. Baldwin directly pointed a firearm at Hutchins, and Sousa, the document further notes, whether guided by her directions or not, Baldwin knew the first rule of gun safety is never point a gun at someone you don't intend on shooting. That's rule 101. You never point the gun at the camera. You point it away from the camera, away from the director, away from any members of the crew who are next to that camera. You do not point it at an actual person because of incidents like this. And yeah, even down here, always assume a gun is loaded. Always assume it's loaded. Always check to see if it's loaded. And if it is, fire it away from the crew, the camera. The statement then adds, this reckless deviation from known standards and practice and protocol directly caused the fatal shooting. No, your client directly caused the fatal shooting because your client has his head so far up his ass that he thinks he's above everyone and everything. By not receiving the required training, well, that's his responsibility to make sure that even he gets the required training on firearms, deviating from the required duties of checking the firearm with the armor. He's a fucking adult. He's been on movie sets before where he's used firearms. He knows what the standards and practices are. Nobody should have to hold his hand and say, Alec, okay, Alec, make sure you hold the gun away from the camera, and before you even fire the gun and hold it away from the camera, make sure that there's dummy rounds in it. Take responsibility. So, anyways, the required duties of checking the firearm from the armor, letting the armor leave the church against protocol, deviating from the practice of only accepting the firearm from the armor, not dealing with safety complaints on the set. Again, because of his arrogance, Halyna Hutchinson's team was fired because they raised concerns about safety on the set. Yet this idiot's ego got in the way because he thinks he's God. He is not God. He's an asshole from Hollywood. Not making sure the protocol of safety meetings was occurring, putting his finger on the trigger of a real gun, not using a replica firearm for the unscheduled rehearsal. Well, he's an idiot. Pointing the gun at Hutchins and Souza and the overall handling of the firearm in a negligent manner, Baldwin acted with willful disregard of the safety of others and in a manner which engaged other people because he doesn't care. Like I said, he thinks he's God. He thinks he's above it all. And DJ says, I got your message. I'll have my agent call your agent. I'm my own agent. As am I, brother. As am I. And TGAPC says, so if you have a meeting with your agent and producer, does that make it a one-person three-way? I don't know. I really don't know what's going through Baldwin's head. Just a month later, in February of 2023, prosecutors downgraded Baldwin's charges, which would have seen the actor facing 5-year minimum sentence to 18 months in prison and the aforementioned $5,000 fine, only for prosecutors to drop the involuntary manslaughter charges in April, seeking to hold him accountable for the killing of Hutchins, which they should, and injuring of Souza. The New Mexico grand jury opted to charge Baldwin with involuntary manslaughter charges yet again on Friday, the 19th of January, 2024. For the second time since the tragic on-set shooting, Baldwin pleaded not guilty to the new charges filed against him, of course. But even when investigators tested the firearm, they proved that Baldwin had to have pulled the trigger, even cocked back the hammer, in order for the gun to discharge. Baldwin's afraid of going to jail. Baldwin believes in his own superficial ego that he thinks he's above it all and he doesn't feel that he should be charged. But he should. He really should. And he has been charged. Now, whether he's going to be convicted or not, that's another thing. Because just because Gutierrez Reed was charged and is now in jail doesn't mean that Baldwin's necessarily going to go to jail. Even though, in my opinion, he should. This is irresponsible from Alec Baldwin, not taking his role as a producer on this film seriously. And it shows that he didn't take it seriously when people were asking questions, raising concern. A good leader will listen to people if they have concerns. Now, it's up to that leader to actually implement the concerns of the cast and crew, or regardless of if it's in Hollywood, if it's at your everyday job and you have a supervisor, it's up to that person to bring those concerns to a higher up or implement new safety protocols that everyone must follow. And that's what Baldwin should have done here. Baldwin should have taken the role seriously, but again, in my opinion, he believes he's above it all. And he's shown that. He's shown that he's an asshole in the past. The way he treated his ex-wife, Kim Basinger, the way he's treated his daughter. And I honestly hope that the book is thrown at him. But again, it's not a guarantee that the book's going to be thrown at him because of what happened here. So, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think that Baldwin should take responsibility and also accept whatever comes down in July after all is said and done? If he is found guilty, to accept that guilty verdict and do his time, or do you have some other take that you want to give? I'm going to go ahead and catch up on the comment section. No, as far as I know, it's not. Let me look up some information and see if it's even supposed to be released. So give me a second as I look it up here, brother. I mean, just like I said last week on Pop Talk, my father had guns. And even though I wanted nothing to do with them, he still taught me safety and responsibility. Okay. There's still no official release date slated for the contentious film, and it should have already had its big screen debut by now, according to the summary I found on Bing. And who knows if this film will ever officially get released. I do know that they moved production to Montana, but as far as I'm concerned, this film should never see the light of day. Just my opinion. And top of the morning to you, Phil McCracken. No, they're both under the weather, Phil. So I am doing this show old school, solo. Because I got a message from both of them this morning. They said they weren't feeling well, and I said, that's fine, that's fine. Get some rest, feel better. And I know Cash has a stream with you tonight, and I told them, rest up for that stream. Let's see. DJ Ronnie G says, well, it'll be a killer release. I see what you did there, DJ. So let's go ahead and move on to our next story here. And I just refreshed the box office to see if those numbers have been updated, but they have not. Our next story here is coming from Cosmic Book News. And Michael Keaton says, never say never to Batman Return. There were big plans involving the actor following The Flash. So give me a second to get the links to the article to those of you on YouTube and Rumble. And again, I appreciate everybody watching the content on both the YouTube and Rumble channels. Let's see. Phil says, solo fine. If you need me, I'll join you for the Golden Nick and Kendall, aka Cash Money Oscar, for co-hosting Pop Talk. But I appreciate it, Phil. I really do. But I've got this, brother. I've got this. I know it's been a while since I've done a solo stream by myself for Pop Talk, but that's just, something that I always keep in mind, because I've even told Cash and Baron that you guys aren't obligated to be on every episode of Pop Talk. If something comes up or you just don't want to be on, you don't have to be on. But, they've both told me that they enjoy being on Pop Talk and, having the conversations that we have, having the silliness that we have together. And I appreciate that, but I don't expect anybody to ever feel like they're obligated to show up to a stream or show up onto a panel. It's always an option. And if you are on a panel on this channel, especially during Pop Talk, just know that the number one rule here is to have fun. So let's go ahead and get into this article on Cosmic Book News. This is by Matt McGlone. It was published 4 days ago onto their site. And the summary here says Michael Keaton is open to possibly returning as Batman. Keaton has not seen the Batgirl movie, but admits to having seen parts of it. There are currently 2 other Batman projects in development, one with Matt Reeves and the other from James Gunn. And let's see. DJ Ronnie G says, but what if Phil wears gold body paint and cosplays as Cash Oscar? I don't know. Would anyone want to see that? No, seriously. Would anyone want to see that? Put it 1 if you'd want to see that. Put it 2 if that's something you don't want to set your eyes upon. And Phil says, just remember that I'm going to help you promote the Pop Talk Hills and Saves merch. Holy items for sale. Oh, all right, Phil. All right. So it starts off by saying the talk of Batman has again turned to Michael Keaton, who says never say never about again returning to playing DC's Dark Knight. As I went over, there were big plans for a massive DC multiverse involving Michael Keaton sticking around as Batman following The Flash, which included the Batgirl movie and involved Batman Beyond. Well, everything changed when David Zaslav took over, but in a new interview, Keaton was asked if he could still come back. It says everything depends on something else. In addition to that surprise Batman appearance at the Oscars with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, Keaton appeared on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, and the topic of DC's Cape Crusader came up. Josh Horowitz mentions it was a treat to see him pop up again as Batman in The Flash, and that he's more than a little sad we won't get to see Batgirl, and asked Keaton if he has seen the film. No, Keaton answered, but said he saw parts of it. I think it was a done deal. Keaton went on to mention another canceled project WB with Will Forte's Coyote versus Acme, which is getting big headlines as while originally canceled, it was going to be shopped around, but since nobody has picked it up, so it's said to be canceled once again. Horowitz then questioned if he thinks his time as Batman is officially done. I don't think about it much, Keaton answered. Never say never. Everything depends on something else. And then it finishes off here by talking about 2 Batman projects in development. Regarding Batman on screen, Matt Reeves is currently developing The Batman Part 2, starring Robert Pattinson, which gets released on October 3rd, 2025. The latest news is that the script is still being worked on. James Gunn is also developing a different version of DC's Dark Knight in the Brave and the Bold movie, which will also feature Batman's son, Damian Wayne, as part of the new DCU to go along with his new Superman movie starring David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan. I can't even pronounce that last name. And I'll be honest with you guys, I wouldn't mind seeing Keaton come back as Batman, but it would have to be the right project. And no, I still have no interest in watching The Flash. Basically because of this guy and all the antics he pulled, and then only got a slap on the wrist for. But I wouldn't mind seeing Michael Keaton return as the Dark Knight, as long as it's done right. It would have to be done right in order for him to return in the right story. And as I check a few things here, okay, everything is holding up pretty well on one side. Let's check the YouTube side. Everything is holding up well on the YouTube side as far as the stream is concerned. So, what about all of you? Would you like to see Michael Keaton return as Batman once again, as long as the project is the right project? Or are you fine with watching Batman and Batman Returns, knowing that those are really the only two official movies he's actually in? Because I'm already dismissing The Flash, and that's because of Ezra Miller. So to me, that doesn't exist. But Batman and Batman Returns does exist, in my opinion. You guys let me know what you think. In the meantime, we will go ahead and move on to our next story. And this next story comes to us from Geek Tyrant. And it was posted a couple days ago. And it is by Joy Parr. And it says Bill Dee Williams comments on Donald Glover's Lando project. There is only one Lando Calrissian. So let's go ahead and post the link into the various chats. And then we'll get into the story. I did read this story ahead of time. I thought it was pretty interesting, but I also thought this would be a good story to get feedback from everybody watching live, or even those who are probably watching this now on the replay. So it starts off by saying last year we learned that Donald Glover was developing a Lando movie for Lucasfilms, with his brother Stephen Glover co-writing the script with him. Glover took over the role of Lando Calrissian in Solo, a Star Wars story, and Lucasfilm has been looking to get this spin-off project off the ground for years, and I'm sure that one day it'll happen. During a recent interview with Radio Times, original Lando actor Billy Dee Williams reflected on the character and commented on Glover taking over the role. While Glover was great in the role, I love Williams' thoughts on the future of the character. It says here, he's part of a whole new generation. He'll create whatever he needs to create to bring appeal to the character. He's a very talented young lad and very imaginative. I mean, it's not for me to say that he should do with the character at the stage, what he should do with the character at the stage. I took care of the 20th century. Now he's got to take care of the 21st. I had a nice little lunch with him. He's a delightful young man, extremely talented, but I don't see him. I mean, when it comes to Lando Calrissian, there's only one Lando Calrissian. I created that character, and that he did. And that's how I look at it. You know, they're just certain actors when they're in a role, they are that character. Just like Michael Keaton. As far as I'm concerned, he's the definitive Batman for the movies. Someone else might say, no, Robert Pattinson is the definitive Batman for the movies. Some like Val Kilmer, some like George Clooney, and some like Christian Bale. But everybody has their preference as far as the character. And when it comes to Lando Calrissian, nobody has the charisma and the smooth talk like Billy Dee Williams did as the character. I would have been interested to see Billy Dee Williams as Two-Face had they gone through with that, since he was Harvey Dent in the '89 Batman movie. That's something I would have been interested in seeing, because I think he would have done a great job with that role. And back to what Williams said in this interview, Williams also shared the advice that he offered Glover on, excuse me, how to play the role, saying, I told him to be charming, 2 words. That's all I needed to tell him. That's all I could think of. I think Glover pulled it off. But yes, at the same time, there really is only one Lando Calrissian. Williams reprised the role of Lando in 2019 for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. And when asked if he would ever return to the franchise, Williams joked, pay me a lot more money and I'll sell my soul. Glover previously said he wanted to tell a story that he knew he would be happy with, and he doesn't want to waste his time on a project that he's not fully invested in, but said Lando is definitely a character he'd like to play again. People kind of realized that their time was valuable. You only get so much, so I'm not interested in doing anything that's just going to be a waste of my time or just a paycheck. I'd much rather spend time with people that I enjoy. So it just has to be the right thing, which I think it could be. Lando is definitely somebody I'd like to hang out with. And it finishes up here by saying Glover previously shared his vision for a Lando project, describing it as Fraser in space. It would be cool to see like Fraser in space, like a high-end guy in space. All of these characters are very specific and they have very specific points of view. So it's always going to be fun to see them traveling around to a planet that is the opposite of what they're used to, and all of that seems like it would be fun to write for sure. Star Wars Lando doesn't currently have a release date, and if anybody's forgotten about Star Wars Lando, you're not the only one, because it was part of, I think D23 a few years ago, or maybe it was Celebration a few years ago, where Lucasfilm brought up the slide that had all their planned projects, and we already know that a few of them were canceled. Some were on, then they were off again. Now they're on again. And what I'm referring to is I saw a report the other day, although I look at it as rumor, that supposedly Rogue Squadron is back on again. But we also know that the Republic show was canceled. The one that was supposed to star Gina Carano was canceled after she was fired from Disney. We all know how that turned out. But just so everybody knows, I still support Gina Carano, because what she said, it wasn't derogatory. She was pointing out history. And DJ Ronnie G says, I love it. Yeah, I think he would have been great as Two-Face. I really do. Because he's that kind of an actor. He can pull off the role. He can, pull off the Harvey Dent side of the character, then also pull off the Two-Face side of the character. Now, I know it's just one opinion, and you know what they say about opinions, but again, I think Billy Dee could have pulled off the role. He definitely pulled off the role of Lando Calrissian, and he's 100% right. There's only one. There can be only one. So, speaking of Star Wars, we actually did lose someone who was in Empire Strikes Back just this past week. And that gentleman was Michael Carver, who was Captain Needa in Empire Strikes Back. He passed away at the age of 85. And this article is by Brandon Shore and starts off by saying Michael Culver, the actor known for playing Captain Needa, has passed away at age 85. Culver's agency, Alliance Agents, announced via Deadline that Culver passed away on February 27th, 2024. We are very sad to confirm the passing of our friend and client, Michael Culver, the agency said in a statement. And I'm just going to drink a water and I will continue. All right. The agency noted that Culver's career spanned over 50 years with notable roles in Sherlock Holmes, A Passage to India, Secret Army, and of course, one of the most memorable death scenes in the Star Wars franchise. It's been an honor to have represented Michael for the last decade and to have taken him to some of the best Star Wars events in the UK and Europe. Alliance agents added. A real highlight was taking Michael to Celebration in Chicago in 2019. He was lost for words when he saw his queue line with nearly 200 people waiting to see him. We worked with Michael just 3 weeks ago at his home, signing with our friends at Elite Signatures. Culver is best known for his small but memorable role in 1980's Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back. In the movie, Culver's Captain Needa is force-choked and killed by Darth Vader after failing to capture members of the Rebel Alliance. You have failed me for the last time. In 1986, Culver appeared as Sir Reginald Musgrave in an episode of The Return of Sherlock Holmes. He starred in a number of television shows, including Secret Army, The Adventures of Black Beauty, The House of Elliot, and more. He was in movies such as 1969's The Body Stealers, in 1984's A Passage to India, and also was a part of numerous theatrical productions over the years. His last feature film role was 2016's Servants' Quarters, which was directed by Paul Rashid. And just like Superhero Hype sends their condolences to the Culver family, so do we here at Pacific414 Pop Talk on the passing of someone who may not have had the biggest role in Empire Strikes Back, but he did have a memorable role. And DJ Ronnie G says, I just ate a hot pickle. Ooh, dude, how hot was it? And he says, my tongue is on fire. He says, water kind of helps. Yeah, it'll kind of help with that hot stuff, but not 100%. So we lost someone who, again, may not have had the biggest role in Star Wars, but his character's death scene is actually a memorable scene in that movie, and people even still talk about it to this day. And speaking of more Star Wars news, let's go ahead and move to the news from PC Gamer. And I know some of you are probably saying, wow, Mike, you're going through this awfully quick. Well, this is how it actually was before on Pop Talk, where I would go maybe an hour or 2 hours sometimes when I was by myself, and I would get to the articles lickety split. I would let you all know what I thought about the article after reading it or as I'm reading it in some cases. And, I would wait to see what folks were saying in the chat to add your 2 cents to it. And But speaking of Star Wars news, I'm not sure how many are aware that the Classics collection was released on the 14th of Star Wars Battlefront. It was something I was thinking about buying, but I thought, I want to hold off just a little bit, especially since I have an appointment to have some work done on my car tomorrow. So I'm glad that I held off at this point because there has been an overwhelming backlash from fans due to the poor release. I know some have said that they're not having any problems, and yeah, there may very well be people who aren't having problems, but that's a small minority that is experiencing few problems. Because the vast majority are saying, I want my money back. This isn't the game I thought it was going to be. This isn't the game that I remember. So I'm going to pull up a few reviews here on Steam. Make sure I select the right one and not the original games. So let me pull this up onto the screen for you all to see. So you know I'm not just talking out of my bum. So let's go ahead and share the screen. So again, the Battlefront Classic Collection was released on the 14th and has mostly negative reviews. And this one says not recommended. This user says you may at this point at this store sorry. You may sit in the storefront, but we do not grant you the rank of remaster. Okay, so that's one opinion. Here's another opinion. OG Battlefront 2 is $10 on the store. This is where the refund begins. And this one is actually from yesterday. And the other two, there is another one from yesterday. This is from yesterday. Another one from yesterday. This is like the equivalent of finding your kid 20 years later and you see them hooked on Fent. Well, yeah. And another one from yesterday. Just get the old Battlefront 2 on Steam and install the Battlefront 2 remastered mod. And yeah. Hell no. Biggest bag fumble of 2024. What a load of bantha poodoo. Of course, you have some positive ones here that said I've played Battlefront 1 religiously for 20 years, and what they've done is something not even God can forgive. Also, nobody will read this, so yeah, all right. And this person says, before I start, I have played and hosted several 64 player matches with my community as the major netcode issues at launch were fixed in only hours after the release of the game. There are issues, yes, but it's honestly not much worse than how the original Battlefront games ran. As much as people might hate to hear this, there are actually pros that come with this version of the game that people are ignoring that formerly needed to be modded into the original games. Let's see. I'm not going to read every single review that's on here, but we have this one from the 16th. Okay, yes, I already read that one. Okay, so this one, this is from the 14th on launch day. First hour launch, only have 3 servers to join, massing about 200 people rounded up. Seriously, WTF? I'll update this review if I can actually join a lobby. Update. Was only able to join one Heroes versus Villains match and the team, which resulted in no one to fight against. Yeah, so as I scroll down here, no, more from the 14th. Then we got a mix of reviews from the 15th, the 16th. Yeah. This is not a way to endear yourself to the fans when they're looking forward to something like this. Especially when fans enjoy the Battlefront games. I played the Battlefront games, not both of them, just the first one, and I enjoyed it. But if you're gonna release any kind of remaster, make sure that it's polished before you release it, and don't depend on us, the ones who are gonna purchase the game, play the game, and possibly stream the game to be your beta testers. No, that should have been done well before the game was released. It was like when the Tomb Raider Remaster collection came out. I got my money back. You want to know why? Because there was no sound. I checked, rechecked, and triple checked to make sure it wasn't anything on my system that may prevent me from hearing the sound. And no, it was an issue with the game. So I got my money back. Yes, it's been fixed now, but at the time, it's like, why am I paying money for a game? I don't care that it wasn't very expensive, but why am I paying money for a game when on release date it's not working 100%? And it seems crazy. And I want to say hello to Real Wade Gaming Clips. Good to see you, Wade. Hope you're doing well on this Sunday. And Jet Sparks, I and my friends were so disappointed. Yeah, I don't blame you, Jet. I don't blame you. People were anticipating Battlefront to be, you know, able to bring them back, able to bring them back to the days of yore, if you will. The days of when you can sit down and enjoy an online campaign with your friends or a versus match in this case with your friends and have a lot of fun. And there's no excuse for this, but we'll get into this article and find out if Aspire made any excuses as to why the game first failed at launch because it only had 3 servers. And yeah, why does the game need 62.87 gigabytes of your hard disk space? It, why? In this day and age? Is it because it's an AI upscaled remaster? Is that why? And Wade's got a new laptop. Awesome, brother. And DJ Ronnie G is saying cheers to Jet Sparks. And he's saying good evening to Real Wade Gaming. And congrats. Yeah, congrats on your new acquisition, brother. It's always nice to see you. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this article into the YouTube and Rumble chats, and I'll begin. Okay. And we've got it. So this article on PC Gamer was published 2 days ago. It's by Joshua Wollens, and it says Aspire makes Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection statement after crashing to overwhelmingly negative reviews. Says it's working on it. Doesn't apologize or explain why it needs 62.87 gigabytes of your disk space. The Battlefront Classic Collection is a bit McClunky. With the Steam user reviews now comfortably at overwhelmingly negative, it's fair to say that the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection has been a disaster, and it's been pilloried by players as probably one of the worst launches of all time within hours of release. The collection has been a black eye for Aspyr after last month's well regarded Tomb Raider remasters. Weirdness regarding the momentarily better Epic Games Store version aside, goes on to say, in the wake of all that, the company has released a stunningly brief statement on where it plans to go from here, thanking the Battlefront community for its overwhelming support and feedback for the classic collection, which is certainly one way of phrasing it. Aspire cops to the fact that it experienced critical errors with our network infrastructure that caused high ping matchmaking errors, crashes, and servers not appearing in the browser. Yep, makes sense. Those are all issues that players have been complaining about since the collection dropped excuse me, dropped yesterday. And I even ran into a couple of them. Matchmaking glitches and crashes myself, then tried to play a bit for of Battlefront yesterday. Come on, Mike, read it. Read it correctly. Most intriguing, though, is the claim that servers were not appearing in the browser. One of the most baffling and oft reported problems with the Battlefront Classic Collection was the fact that it apparently launched with just three 64 player dedicated servers for around 10,000 concurrent players. Now it seems like Aspire is saying that the issue was not in the amount of servers, but their visibility, which was obscured by glitches or machinations of the Sith. Goes on to say, it makes sense. I dropped into the game not too long after launch and found far more than found far more than three dedicated servers in Battlefront 2 and five in Battlefront 1, which isn't many, but was enough to cater to the relatively few people playing it. Anyway, Aspire, Pinky promises it's working on it. We've been working to address these issues and increase network stability. We will continue our efforts until our network infrastructure is stabilized to prevent further outages. All well and good, but maybe a little thin as statements go. Well, to me, it's like, yeah, we're aware of the problem, but do we really care? No, no, we're just happy that you forked over the money, and unfortunately for them, because of these glitches, people are asking for their money back, and I don't blame those people for asking their money back. You don't go and buy a product from a store, bring it home, go to test it out, and the thing breaks on you the moment you turn it on and say, "Oh, well, I'll just keep it." No, you go back to the store, you return it, you get your money back. You shouldn't accept subpar products. I don't care if it's games. I don't care if it's an appliance. I don't care if it's movies or TV shows. You shouldn't accept subpar products, subpar storytelling, subpar character development. Not at any time. It says the Battlefront games are beloved classics, and thousands of players were there on day one of Aspire's collection to dive back into the glory days of 2005. Their disappointment has been immeasurable but vocal, and I imagine Aspire's five sentence, "Hey, we're working on a statement with no time frame and no apology," won't do much to placate them. No, it shouldn't. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable in this day and age when you have a remaster of a game, and I know some are going to say, "Mike, it didn't cost that much." I don't care. I don't care if the game's a $30 game, a $40 game, a $50 game. You shouldn't accept crap if they release crap. Just like with a $70 game. Are you gonna just accept it and say, "Oh, this game has glitches, and I'll just wait for the patch"? And then, what if the patch makes it even worse? You gonna accept that? $70 is a lot of money to spend for a game. For some people, spending $35, 36, 37, $38 on a game is expensive because of their budget. So, if you're gonna release a game, first, make sure the gameplay is good. And if it's an online game, make sure your servers are going to be ready for the amount of gamers that are going to come on. I don't care if you say you're going to have 3 servers on launch day. Make sure that those servers will be able to handle the workload. Now, granted, with a game like this or any game for that fact, should have more servers available to multiple players. Since a game like this, since it is nostalgic to a lot of people, it's going to grab their attention. I mean, what a difference as far as remasters or re-releases are concerned. Dark Forces comes out, I don't hear any complaints. As a matter of fact, let me go back to Steam. Let me go back to Steam and look up Dark Forces Remastered. And let's take a look at some of the reviews for that. Give me a second here. So here's the thing. And let me go ahead and share my screen again. So here we have it. Dark Forces Remastered. Very positive. On day one of its release. Very positive. I mean, look, recommended. This is on the 10th. This review here. And even this person who received it for free, long before Kyle Katarn discovered the ways of the Force, he was a gun for hire. A disillusioned former Imperial soldier. So basically, given the story. And this person says, if they're going to be honest, it's worth the 30. And why? Because they want them to do a Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. And then, no, but for real, because it not only gives you an updated, more modern and playable version of an all time classic, but it also preserves the original version too. So instead of the game being locked behind having to mess with a bunch of mods just to get it running correctly, this will be playable for decades to come. Now, there is a not recommended review here. It says there are several problems with the remaster that really should have been cleared up. They go on to say music timing is really messed up. It makes the entire soundtrack sound pretty terrible and really kinds of ruins the experience. A bug from the original game has carried over to the remaster. If you step on ice without the ice cleats, you can get completely stuck and not move. Well, that's why you need the ice cleats. So recommended, recommended, recommended. Just take a look at a few more here. One person says it's definitely an improvement from the original, but is it worth $30? No way. This should be like $14.99 or and $9.99 for those who already own a copy of the original. The improvements make it much more playable for today's gamer. but it's essentially the same exact game with sharper graphics. That's what a remaster is. That's what a true remaster is. And then a lot of these others are recommended. Positive reviews. Solid remaster, but not for $30. I've heard a lot of people say that when it comes to the Dark Forces remaster. But I was watching somebody stream it when it came out, and it looked great to me. And that's probably because it brought back a lot of memories of playing the game. Playing the game on my PS1 back in the late 90s and trying to discover secrets and going through the sewer level and getting stuck in the sewer level and just like Baron, not particularly caring for that level. But yeah, it's inexcusable for any of these companies to do a remaster, whether it be Tomb Raider, whether it be Dark Forces, whether it be Battlefront 1 and 2, and release them with any sort of issues. We as gamers, we as just regular average everyday people, everyday folk who work hard and want to sit down and enjoy a game, don't want to purchase a game and then have to get a refund because it's not meeting our expectations. Because the company that published it and released it dropped the ball. It's unacceptable. But as far as the rest of this article says, it says, after all, there are still mysteries that Aspire hasn't addressed. Plenty of players have complained of audio issues or glitches in this case, and bad controller support, for instance, which the company doesn't mention in the statement. My main query is how on earth the collection managed to turn two games from the mid 2000s, totaling about 12 gigabytes combined, into 62.87 gigabyte download. I don't mean to kick the studio while it's down, but that's not a size increase I can see reflected in the game's graphical quality. No. We'll see how things go. I suppose I still hope Aspire manages to miraculously pull this one out of the bag. The Battlefront games and the people who bought them deserve better. Yeah, we all deserve better if we're going to purchase something, put our hard-earned money into something, even if it's not a game. Say for instance, you go to buy a new car and, it's new, fresh off the assembly line, delivered to the dealership, and you have it for maybe a week, and then there's already a problem. Well, that's where the lemon law comes in. So you have that to protect you, but as far as having anything to protect gamers, it seems like anymore these companies would rather listen to a company like Sweet Baby Inc. than listen to the customer. And that's a poor decision, in my opinion. When you rather listen to Sweet Baby Inc. and make sure you have all this nonsense in a game that really doesn't need to be there, when all gamers want, and I've said this before on Pop Talk, I've said it to Barrett and Cash. All we want is a game with a good story and good controls. That's playable. That's all we want. And let's see, let me catch up with the chat. And Jet Spark says he couldn't find a physical copy. No, I haven't even checked my local Target or Walmart or any other stores in my area to see. And DJ Ronnie G says he thought the original game worked fine enough, but I never tried to play online. I'm such a casual gamer that I don't play some games enough to justify $70. Yeah, that's another thing. Some people are just a casual gamer. They'll
pick up a game every now and then to play it, but it's not going to justify it to them paying $70. I've had people say, "Well, you're streaming the game." I may stream games on stream, but I'm also playing some games offline that I really have no intention on streaming. Those are games that I just want to play for myself. And you want to know one of the games I'm playing for myself right now is Tomb Raider Legacy. Bought that the other day thanks to the Steam sale for $1.05. And I'm having fun playing it. And DJ Ronnie G says, "Oh yeah, I gotta get Dark Forces remastered." Oh, I say get it, brother. If that's what you want, get it. And he says Dark Forces 2 plays okay, but pain in the butt to stream. The resolution switches between 640 by 480 and 1080p when you pause or the alt pad, alt tab, sorry. In short, it wreaks havoc with the OBS scene canvas. Yeah, I imagine that because there's certain games. I'll give you an example: Dark Tide. You have to have it in, I believe it was borderless, as far as your window resolution, in order for OBS or Streamlabs OBS to even capture it. If you had it in full or window display, for some reason it doesn't want to capture it. And Cash ran into that problem when we were planning on streaming Dark Tide on his channel, The Phantom Hooligans. And I think it's stupid. I don't think you should be limited to, windowed, full screen, or borderless resolution in order to have your streaming software captured, whether it be OBS or Streamlabs OBS. Just my opinion. And DJ Ronnie G says music timing. I'll keep an ear out for that. Dun-dun-dun. But I'm not a musician. Uh-huh. Well, yeah, brother. I mean, you know that when you get to certain levels, if you don't have certain items, you're not getting any further in that level. You're stuck there. You're SOL. Yeah, that's true too. And DJ Ronnie G is back because prior to that, said he had a glitch. But it's inexcusable for these companies to release games that aren't working properly. You know, I know I've mentioned it before, but Jedi Survivor, that was a game that was $70. I bought it on release date. I streamed it, and it had all sorts of problems. I eventually figured out what the problem was. I had to turn out the VSync in order for everything to run smoothly. But up until then, it's like, okay, I'll lower the graphic resolution. You know, maybe that'll help. Maybe lowering the detail might help. Trying to do all sorts of tricks, trying to even optimize the game as best I can to get it to work. And still, it wasn't until I turned off the VSync that the game actually finally started to work. Even the problems I had with the Metal Gear Solid remaster, you know, I haven't touched that game since. Even though they have done quite a few updates for it, I haven't touched it since. I'm not getting my money back because I do plan on playing that again. But I want to make sure that when I pick it up and play it again, that it's going to work properly. And DJ Ronnie G says, yes, listen to the people who will be using the product. Exactly. I mean, DJ, you're a technical logical wizard as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure if there's a release of a new product that you wanted to try out and maybe it was getting rave reviews, but you get yours and for some reason it's not working as well as advertised, I'm sure you're going to want to get your money back. And DJ says the reason why he got knocked out was because of office Wi-Fi. Understandable. But yeah, don't ever accept subpar products. Don't ever just say, "Okay, I'll just take it." Yeah, it's not the best, but I'll take it. If there's something wrong with something that you're purchasing with your hard-earned money, say something about it. Have the company make it right. Get your money back if you have to. So, moving on to our next story. I know some of you have played Among Us. I'm not going to assume everybody has played Among Us. But what I didn't know, and maybe some of you didn't know, is that apparently there's going to be an Among Us animated series, and they have their cast in Randall Park, Yvette Nicole Brown, Elijah Wood, and Ashley Johnson. So let me get the link to this article into the chats. And then I'll start reading it. Okay, now that I have the links into the Rumble and YouTube chats, let's get into the story. It's by Joel Otterson. It was posted on Friday. It says the Among Us animated series in the works at CBS Studios has added its first voice cast members, Variety has learned. Randall Park, Always Be My Maybe, Fresh Off the Boat, Yvette Nicole Brown, Community, The Odd Couple, Elijah Wood, The Lords of the Rings trilogy, Wilford, and Ashley Johnson, The Last of Us, Blind Spot, will all lend their voices to the animated adaptation of the popular mobile game. Well, it's also on PC. Variety exclusively reported that the series was in development back in June 2023. It hails from CBS Animation Productions and Innersloth, the independent game studio behind Among Us. I just need to get a drink of water real quick, folks. Full character descriptions can be found below. Owen Dennis will serve as creator and executive producer on the project under his overall deal with CBS Studios. Per the official logline, the series is based on the premise of the game. Namely, members of your crew have been replaced by an alien shapeshifter intent on causing confusion, sabotaging the ship, and killing everybody. Root out the imposter or fall victim to its murderous designs. And I've played Among Us. I've had fun playing Among Us. I don't know who else here in the chat or who might be listening has played Among Us and has had friends, but you know, play with them and have fun. But it's a fun game. Titmouse, Big Mouth, Star Trek Lower Decks will serve as the animation studio for the series, along with Dennis Forrest Willard, Marcus Roman Mander, and Carl Neiser of Innersloth will also executive produce, along with Chris Prynoski and Shannon Prynoski, Antonio
Canopio and Ben Kalina of Titmouse. Come on, Mike, read. No network or streamer is currently attached, but those conversations are said to be ongoing. CBSI Animation Productions produces in association with Intersloth. And CBS Studios and Intersloth today announced that Randall Park, fresh off the boat, Ashley Johnson, yeah, we already read that above, Yvette Nicole Brown, and Elijah Wood have been cast to voice characters in Among Us, the series production based on the widely popular social deception game. Randall Park will voice Red, Captain of the Shield. Skilled. Come on, Mike, read. Gosh, all these bloopers. People pleaser, blowhard, task leadership, confidence, fun fact, filled upwards. Ashley Johnson will voice Purple, Chief of Security, Safety, Suspicion, Sarcasm, Task, Wet Blanket, Fun Fact, Trust Issues. Yvette Nicole Brown will voice Orange, HR, Spineless Corporate, Shill, Task, Eliminate Redundancy, Fun Fact, fires you over email. Elijah Wood will voice Green, unpaid intern, happy to be there. Task, whatever they're told. Fun fact, gets paid in pizza. So I don't know. You know, we'll see what the trailer looks like. It could actually look like it might be a fun series if that's the kind of trailer we get, or some of us could watch the trailer when it is eventually released and say, I don't know about this. I really don't. But we'll have to wait and see. And until then, we can always play a game of Among Us together. And I'm serious about that. If you guys would ever want to play a game of Among Us, we could do that. It wouldn't have to be on stream. Nothing ever has to always be on stream. We could do it off stream. All right. Let me see if the box office is updated. And in the meantime, while I'm looking to see if it's been updated, I am going to let you all know what's going to be coming up on the channel and what's going to be coming up on the YouTube, Rumble, and Twitch channel. I'm not streaming anything to the Kick channel this week, but I will be streaming more of Mad Max this coming Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then on Wednesday, we will be having a watch party. And you all know I'm a big fan of this franchise. And for those of you who didn't see the little teaser at the beginning of the show, we will be watching this for the watch party this coming Wednesday on YouTube and Rumble starting at 6 p.m. Eastern.
One shall stand, one shall fall. Why throw away your life so recklessly?
And I can't make any promises that every time I look into a monitor prime, my circuit sizzle. When are we going to start busting some deceptive chops that I won't start quoting every single one? I will do my best to stop myself from doing so. But you need to listen, Ironhide. We don't have enough energon cubes to launch a full-scale assault. Ready the shuttle for launch. Your days are numbered now, deceptive creeps. Yeah, I will refrain myself. I will restrain myself from quoting the movie as we're all watching it. Because seriously, I want everybody to be able to enjoy watching the movie, especially those of you who may not have ever seen it. You may have only heard about it, and you may have only heard about some stories about what happens after a certain character gets killed in the movie. So that's what we'll be doing on Wednesday for Pop Talk. Again, that'll be on YouTube and Rumble starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then on Thursday, I will continue with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And I'm really enjoying that game. Yes, that is a game that was $70, but for the moment, there haven't been any patches for it. And I've enjoyed the journey. And I don't know how long it's going to take me to get through the game, and that's perfectly fine. I'm enjoying the journey and discovering things and looking around for materia and looking around for weapon upgrades because I'm sure some of you have seen it even in my Mad Max gameplay where I'm not really concentrating on the main mission. I'm trying to get other tasks done. And the reason I'm trying to get those other tasks done in Mad Max is so when it comes time to move to the next mission, which I promise I will be doing Tuesday, that any little side missions I have to do on the next mission, they're already completed. Now, I may not do that every single time when I play a game or when I go back to playing a game like Mad Max, but for certain parts, if my own curiosity gets to me, or I'm like, what, I want to go over here. I want to deactivate these mines that are over here on the map. Then I'm going to do it, and I'm going to cause carnage along the way too. So let's see if that box office has been updated. I don't see an update here. Uh, let me look someplace else because it's not coming up on Box Office Mojo. So let me see if another site might have the weekend box office numbers. Just to see, because last week it was a pretty close race between Kung Fu Panda Part 4 and Doom Part 2. So I'm just curious. And when it came to Doom Part 2, I really enjoyed that. I really did. And one of the main reasons why is because I didn't get to see the first Dune when it came out in theaters because my theater wasn't open because it was in the middle of the coop. So I sat home and watched it on HBO Max. So being able to experience Dune Part 2 in the theater, that did make an impact on my overall thoughts, my overall review. And I still enjoyed it. Okay, now I want to make sure that it's concurrent, and it looks like it may just be concurrent. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay, so let me go ahead and bring up this article here from Deadline. Let me first share it into the chat real quick. And I appreciate everybody being here. Don't forget to share out the stream or hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube and Rumble. Okay, and let's see. DJ Ronnie G says he just watched Dune 1984 this past week. Nothing wrong with that. Watching the Sci-Fi Channel mystery miniseries since 2 days ago. Yep. See, I'm not really familiar with all of Frank Herbert's Dune books because I haven't read them. The way I got familiar with Dune was because of the 1984 movie and the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries and some games that came out on the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo that were based on Dune. But I haven't read any of the books. Yeah, I don't blame you. If you have an IMAX, I've heard that that's the way to see a movie. Unfortunately for me, I have to drive sometimes 2.5 hours just to get to an IMAX theater. and then drive 2.5 hours back. So let's go ahead and read this article from Deadline about this weekend's box office. And then after we read it, we will be wrapping up. So this article is by Anthony De Alessandro. And it says Kung Fu Panda 4 puts the Kung Fu grip on Sandburn with 30 million second weekend Sunday AM update. So it says Sunday AM update. The whole marketplace is coming in lighter than expected at 89 million, which is a negative 3% off from the same frame a year ago when Shazam Fury of the Gods did 30 million. That's exactly what the second weekend is for Kung Fu Panda 4, which is a great hold at negative 48%, rising to 107.7 million stateside, running total. And it says legendary Warner Brothers Doom Part 2 isn't far behind at 29.1 million, 37%. For a running total of 205.3 million. That's the domestic total, of course. The domestic endgame on the sequel is expected to be around 275 million. Despite excellent holds by the big guns, it's unfortunately the middle of the box office dropped out, and that's where the marketplace is still weak. Post-pandemic and post-strikes, Lionsgate Mark Wahlberg dog adventure racing movie came in below its projects at 7.5 million. The movie was forecasted to do 8 million to 10 million. Important to note that the movie did not have Canada in its mix. The movie is on Prime Video, a Prime Video window there, but for a later release, even if it did have Canada, we're talking about 8.5 million, which is still underwhelming. And I want to say hello to this gentleman, too. Good to see you.
Anonymous. Anonymous. Anonymous.
And he says, are you being shunned this weekend? No. Both Baron and Cash aren't feeling well. So I told him, it's okay. You guys covered for me on Wednesday. I got this. I know it's been a while since I've done a solo show, but I got this. Good to see you, Anonymous. How's your St. Patty's Day going? Do you have the luck of the Irish on your side? Have you found that leprechaun yet with the pot of gold? Or are you chasing that leprechaun with the pot of gold and chasing cash money toward that rainbow? And of course, Anonymous says, hey, Mike. Okay. So, the Mark Wahlberg movie didn't meet projections. Let's see, A24's Love Lies Bleeding in its dark element was a hard sell, only earning 2.4 million, and the pick sort of grosses coming from New York City, LA, and Austin. Let's see, what else? Focus features the American Society of Magical excuse me, of Magical Negroes. That's the title of the movie, YouTube. I'm just saying what it is. I'm not being racist. I'm not being an ass. Says it right here, YouTube. Right here. It only made 1.25 million. And then there was Drive-Away Dolls. Gosh, never even heard of that. You know what's going to be interesting? It's going to be interesting to find out what Ghostbusters Frozen Empire does this coming weekend, since it comes out on Friday. Is that going to make any money? Because we've seen this trend. These movies just aren't making money anymore. They weren't making money before the strikes, and they're definitely not making money after the strikes. So that'll be interesting. Yes, I do plan on seeing Ghostbusters Afterlife. If not this weekend, then possibly next weekend. But I don't know. Maybe people just would rather spend their hard-earned money on something else. And you can't blame them. Not if Hollywood's always going to blame the audience for their failures. Oh, it's because of this demographic. It's because of that demographic that our movie failed. It's not because our script couldn't hold weight, our characters were bland, or this movie was a bloated mess. A $300 million bloated mess. No, not that at all. Ooh. Oh, brother. Were you just doing something simple when you throw out your back, or was it something else that caused your back to go out of whack? Because we've all had it happen where we're just doing something that we consider routine, and we end up throwing out our back. I've done that before. It's never fun. That's for damn sure. But yeah, with this box office, I don't know if it's ever gonna fully recover. Even in the summer of last year, other than Barbie and Oppenheimer, and I mean, I can't really say Super Mario Brothers because that wasn't really a summer blockbuster. But outside of Barbie and Oppenheimer, can anybody on YouTube and Rumble think of a movie that was a bona fide hit? And Anonymous says, "Yeah, I was just leaning over the bathroom sink, rinsing my mouth out from brushing my teeth. Yeah, simple things. Simple things. I threw my back out one time when I was, you know, cleaning the kitchen. And it's like, ah, dang, what the heck?" And it was a couple days before I was able to actually move comfortably. And there was one time when I threw out my back, and I don't know what I did, but I woke up the next morning and I could barely move. And it took me a while to get down the stairs. It took me a heck of a long time to get back up the stairs. And yeah, it doesn't take much, especially as we get older. And hello, Padawannabe. I hope you're doing well on this St. Patty's Day Sunday. Hey, that's right. That's right. Those two heathens, those two hooligans, Marilyn and Cash, spent time at the bar last night. And they got drunk. They got drunk off whiskey. Uh, and then they saw a leprechaun. And they were chasing after it. But yeah, it doesn't take much. No, no, unfortunately, I'm not in my 20s anymore. The body doesn't recover as quickly as it used to. And the body definitely lets you know you're not in your 20s anymore. To slow down. But I think this is a good point to go ahead and wrap up today's show. We managed to get through all the articles and have a discussion. And I greatly appreciate everybody for being here, taking the time to tune in. If you didn't get to see the entire show, well, you can definitely check it out on the replay. And don't forget to hit that like button on your way out. And again, just to reiterate that on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'll be continuing my Mad Max streams. This will be part 8. And we will advance further into the game on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern for Pop Talk, we won't be talking about any articles like we did today, but we will be watching Transformers the movie. And then on Thursday, I will be back with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And as far as what Cash and Baron have planned on their channels, I believe Cash's plan was to continue with some more Vermintide 2 on the Phantom Hooligans, starting at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That'd be 6:30 p.m. Central Time and 8:30 p.m. No, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time, West Coast Time, and then 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Yeah, I know I screwed that up. And then, as long as Baron's feeling well, hopefully we'll be talking more Babylon 5. Babylon 5. But yes, today was a day where I didn't have to deal with that Vorlon, and I didn't have to deal with that Nan in his chin. That's right. I know he's listening to me right now. And I know that Mr. Cash Money is listening. I did not have to listen to the Nan. Because the Vorlon says he's not here. And then he disguises himself as a human. But what's more important is that today we didn't have to listen to the Nan in that chin. I love doing that. Of course, Cash and I like doing things to annoy one another. And then Baron's like, why are you guys dragging me into this? Because you are here, Baron. That is why. Mr. Ormontag. But again, on a serious note, thank you all for being here for this edition of Pop Talk. Always try to have a lot of fun, whether it's Baron, Cash, myself, or Cash, myself, or sometimes Baron and Cash, or in today's case, just me. Always trying to have fun here. And speaking of which, I want to thank T-Gab Steve for being here. Thank you very much, brother. DJ Ronnie G. And again, we will definitely get things coordinated because I would love to have you as a guest on Pop Talk. And T-Gap, if you ever would like to be a guest on Pop Talk, would love to have you. Wade, I'd love to have you. And yes, Anonymous, you as well. And of course, Pat, I want to be, you know this because I mentioned it in the members stream. I'd like to have you as a guest. And if anyone else would like to be a guest on Pop Talk, well, just send me a DM on Discord or Twitter and we'll get something worked out. Not a problem, brother. I really appreciate your support of not just the YouTube channel, but the Rumble channel, the Twitch channel, the Kick channel. Your support in general, I appreciate everybody's support because without you, I don't do this. You're part of what makes doing this fun. You're part of what makes doing the gaming streams fun.
when you guys come to Baron's channel as we're doing the Babylon 5 streams, it makes it fun. When we're doing the game streams on Cash's channel, it makes it fun. When you support anybody who creates content, whether it be on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, or even when they stream their content on Twitter or X or Twix, whatever you want to call it, you guys are very important. You guys are very important to success. I'm not talking about monetarily or, you know, as far as subscribers are concerned. I'm talking about repeat customers, those who keep coming back to the channel, regardless of what you're streaming. Keep coming back to show support. I mean, I know when Anonymous is feeling better, he will probably make another video. I know right now he's working on something that's very near and dear to him. So I'm sure and certain that we're gonna find out about it. DJ Ronnie G, if you guys haven't catched his streams on Monday nights, or sometimes it's just him, or sometimes he has a guest with him. They're very informative. And Padawannabe, I know, as soon as he gets things straightened out as far as his setup is concerned, I know he wants to do some Lego streams. And those will be very fun. It's fun watching other people put different Lego sets together, or any kind of stream where someone's putting something together and you see where it starts and you see the progression up until the completed product. Yeah. And Jed Sparks, I hope you get back to streaming on a more regular basis when you're able to. And, if you guys haven't checked out Wade's channel, check it out. Check out any content creator's channel. Give them a watch, 2 watches, 3 watches, however many watches it takes for you to go, yeah, I like this. Because for some people, they can't just automatically decide, I'm going to subscribe to this channel on the first viewing. Sometimes it takes multiple viewings before they go, yeah, I'm going to subscribe. And Phil, I hope when you're feeling better that you're able to get back to streaming on a regular basis, because I know people would love to hear some of the knowledge that you have, and maybe even some stories from when you were growing up. And of course, you know, TFC, what would Pop Talk be without Beverly Hills 414? He's added something to the lore of the channel, the lore of Baron, Cash, and myself, as far as the Beverly Hills 414 stories are concerned. So I really appreciate that. And again, I appreciate each and every one of you who have taken the time to like a video, like a live stream, share out the live stream or video, and subscribe to the channel. Taking time out of your day to be a guest on Pop Talk. Again, I appreciate it, and I want you all to know that. And the goal is always to have fun here, and that's what I want to do. Yes, when it comes time to get serious, and I know this was maybe not as fun as it is when Baron and Cash are here with me, but still, I'm gonna still try to have fun. And if I have to get serious because of the topic, I'll get serious. And Paul, good to see you. All right, I hope you enjoy it, brother. Because as I said during today's broadcast, I enjoyed Doom Part 2, and a lot of it did have to do with being able to see Doom Part 2 in the theater, where I didn't see Part 1 in the theater because my theater wasn't open. But everybody, I hope you have yourselves a great rest of your Sunday. Happy St. Patty's Day. And until next time, remember, don't ever give up on me in a game, because just when you do, you might miss something.
Autobots, transform and roll out.
This has been a test of the emergency hypnotoad system. Had this been an actual hypnosis, you would go limp